Ladies and gentlemen, there is no better way than to kick off tonight's Sports Report show and all of the Sports Report shows here on Sportnarium this weekend with our guest who's become one of the most important guests in show history, former world champion with KOW, showcase champion with KOW, one of the premier wrestlers around, as one half of the tag team that is born ready with the natural born fighter, RP Davis of Odyssey Pro Wrestling, and now Fight Honor Wrestling. Now he's one of the premier personal trainers and online coaches, and we cannot wait to get into that. And without further ado, here on the Sports Report, the number one global sports show, the Champ, how are you?
I'm good, honestly. Them entrances are fantastic every single time. My speaker actually cut out halfway through that, then it was going on that long. Brilliant. Love
it. Well, you know what it is? I've been watching a lot of UFC lately.
Yeah, Bruce Buffer.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
trying to get that down. Really trying to get that down. But Champ, it's obviously a tremendous honor to have you back on the show, and congratulations is in order, because for our worldwide audience listening here on Sportnarium, you and the natural born fighter RP Davis are now announced for Fight Honor Wrestling. Can't wait to see you guys in the ring there later this fall, which is a couple of short months away. And talk about the news then for our worldwide audience of you and the natural born fighter RP Davis signed, sealed, and delivered for Fight Honor Wrestling.
Yeah, it's quite apt that they're called Fight for Honor Wrestling, because that's something that we really stand by, you know what I mean? So it is an honour. It is an absolute honour. And then I look at some of the tag teams that are already announced in their tag team division, and it gets me even more excited, because I look at a lot of these teams and think, you know, we have some real incredible scraps with. You know, the opportunity came up, whether we were first on their list or we were brought in later on. I don't know how the situation worked, but the thing was, they've seen us, they've seen how hard we're working. We're going in there, we're not going in there just to make the numbers up. Everywhere we go and everywhere we get looked at, we're looking to be champions. And nothing's going to stop us going to the top there. But that's no disrespect to the teams there, because there are some brilliant teams.
Absolutely. And we definitely know this is why you guys are born ready. We know that you guys have also been training intensively at the Future Shock Performance Center. And I got to think then the Cumbrian Outlaw Rick Markus that with this announcement, you guys are going to be training even harder, because you guys are now really motivated, and that now we're going to see you with another company. I mean, talk to me about training and how much are you motivated now by the announcement?
Yeah, massively motivated. The thing is as well, like me and our people, we don't live in the same town, you know. It's like the Future Shock Performance Centre is a good couple of hours drive, both of us from different directions. So we make sure every week that we manage to get down there. And it's like, if you look at some of the wrestlers that are coming out of that Future Shock Performance Centre now, it's pretty incredible. There's a lot of the guys are on Progress, they're on the Future Shock shows themselves. Sam Bailey, who's the head coach down there, is doing an absolutely awesome job. And with the guys there, you know, it's like they have 8 people a session, and they have sessions all day. Got Chris Ridgway in there, who's another one of the coaches who's everywhere. He wrestled in Japan, he's all over Progress. He's one of the absolute best around. So it's, you know, it is a drive for us, you know, work our long days, then we get in our cars, kiss the missus goodbye and drive and do what we've got to do. You know, and the thing is, we're willing to do that. We're willing to do that. We're not going to sit here and mourn and think, oh, well, there's no training centres around, there's no this, there's no that. We don't make excuses. We just get in, we get the job done, and everything's just starting to click now. You know, it's really exciting. Actually, some of the teams that are actually been announced for Fight for Honor Wrestling, some of the guys train at Future Shock. So obviously we've got a little bit of back and forth on the social media sites with Synergy already. We know them guys are in there. That's always good fun. The reality of the situation is just nothing but respect between us and Synergy. But, you know, they take shots at us, we take shots back. I think there is an underlying respect. And when the time comes, I know we're going to be able to tear the house down. But along with that, you know, you're made to last. There, Celtic Irons there, one half of them definitely McCarthy, who you've had on here before. And then the Billington Bulldogs are also on the roster as well. The Dynamite Kids nephews. Trained with one of them guys before. It's an honour to be, around these names. And the thing is, this isn't arrogance with me and Harvey Davis. We are working our asses off, and we are a new team. A lot of these teams are already established, so it's not going to be easy for us. We're not going in blind, but we're going to take some stopping. I can tell you that.
Well, that's why, ladies and gentlemen, we're very excited to you guys back in the ring, because we said we've been talking about this forever, the Cumbrian Outlaw, between you and the natural born fighter, RP. We're extremely excited about that. But you brought up Synergy, which is no stranger to this show, and we've seen Synergy back and forth. And I got to ask you then, when it comes to Synergy, I mean, why do they always seem to be in the middle of something with a tag team? We see them now obviously announced with Odyssey Pro Wrestling in a match with the Freak Show with the Guiding Light, Isaiah Quinn, also involved in the match. I mean, why do you think that Synergy is always involved in the middle of things with different tag teams?
Well, I think you look at the guys, they're hard to ignore, aren't they? They're both absolute animals, and I think people just want to fight the best, and I think Synergy are one of the best teams around. So whether we're talking about them or whether they're having pops at us, the reason they're always in the mix is because people talk about them. It's as simple as that, because they are absolute super athletes. And I saw that was announced for Odyssey Wrestling. That's good. It's going to be an incredible match. That, but like I said, I know the guys out of the Freak Show from Knockout Wrestling and being there with Isaiah Quinn in the mix. I've worked with Isaiah in the past. In Out Wrestling, I was in a group with Isaiah Quinn. Yeah, I managed to get him ahead, and kicked a couple of headings for him. It's going to be really interesting. It's going to be really interesting. On paper, you look at that match and you see Synergy and Freak Show, and you think Synergy will throw them around like rag dolls, but they're very impressive. The Freak Show, very impressive. I'm really looking forward to that one.
Well, the Freak Show, as we know, are the KOW Tag Team Champions still, and we will definitely get into KOW with you here in a few minutes. But I want to go back to something, because you mentioned Chris Ridgway, and Chris Ridgway was somebody we talked about on last week's show with ALP, booker and promoter of KOW, and KOW has released the 30-minute Iron Man match between him and Craig Collins. And Chris Ridgway might be the wrestler of everybody in KOW who's gone on to have had the most success outside of KOW. When you're with a Chris Ridgway in the ring and all the experience that he has had, I mean, how much do you talk with him about that? And what do you take away from those conversations to help you get ready for Fight Honor Wrestling and the rest of your career?
I think the thing with Chris Ridgway is, first and foremost, is became a friend outside of wrestling as well. So when we talk, a lot of the time, it's asking how his young family is and things like that. First and foremost, they're the main important things. But when we're training with him, it's a total different style of training with Chris, because there's a lot of, I call it pre-exhaustion work, where it's very similar to your Japan dojos, because obviously he's worked in the Noah dojo over in Japan. So you're going in there, you're doing a lot of air squats, you're doing different variations of press-ups. The guys in there, it's crazy. I've never ever trained like that in my life. I did a session with him a couple of weeks ago. I couldn't walk for 5 days legitimately, and I like to think I'm a fairly fit person. But my legs were like jelly for about 5 days. So so as soon as you go through, we talk regular, and and I do enjoy sessions with him, but I know I'm in for an aching couple of days afterwards. But to go back to what you said about the 30-minute Ironman match, I don't know if you know this anyway, that 30-minute Ironman match was the first knockout wrestling show I ever attended before I even started wrestling. So that was the show that I went and watched. And at the end of it, went and approached ALP and the guys and asked them about training and, how do you get into wrestling and that. And it was literally that match that sparked that in me to think, I want to do this. So just an interesting story based on that, really. It was that moment. I remember the end of it, the very last fall, for about 10 seconds to go. Craig had him in, I think it was a knee bar, if I remember correctly. And then Chris just tapped out in the last second. I remember the crowd went absolutely crazy. It was brilliant. It was such a cool feeling, actually. Yeah, just being there in the crowd. I'd had a skinful of beer as well, like probably added to it. But, it was a great house. But then I went and spoke to the boys, and then a week later I was training with them, and 5 years later, it's funny how it works out.
Listen, the rest is history, the Cumbrian Outlaw. And we did talk about that last week with ALP. And listen, you never know what could happen. And obviously, you're on your way to bigger and better things. And we are here on the Sports Report, the #1 global sports show here on Sportnarium with the Cumbrian Outlaw, Rick Markus, the former KOW World Champion and Showcase Champion, who's gone on to bigger and better things since. He's obviously a huge part of Odyssey Pro Wrestling alongside his tag team partner, the Natural Born Fighter, RP Davis, the team of Born Ready. And they're also going to be in Fight Honor Wrestling. And I am the host of the Sports Report, the Reverend Tom Rice, and also the station manager here at Sportnarium. We're talking all things related to the career of the Cumbrian Outlaw, Rick Markus. And the Cumbrian Outlaw, Rick Markus, I got to congratulate you also, because now that we see you're a personal trainer and an online coach, I mean, you got to talk about that for our worldwide audience listening here on Sportnarium and what got you into that, and congratulations.
Yeah, so we spoke about it in the past. So over the lockdown period, well, I've always been into, fitness and training. I've gone to the gym since I was 14 years old, with varying degrees of success. But during the start of the first lockdown, so I'm talking like March last year, I let myself get a little bit sloppy. I was drinking a bit. I was, generally feeling a bit sorry for myself. And then I signed up with the 36-week physique with Nush, which quite a lot of the guys have been on. So, Scotty Rourke has been on it, Big Joe's been on it, RP Davis has been on it, Kev Lloyd's been on it. It's a real cool thing. Isaiah Quinn's on it at the moment. There's so many guys, and the transformations that are happening. And it's not just a physical transformation, it's a mental transformation as well, and a real journey. And there's an incredible community there. And coming at the end of it, I found myself in a completely different position in my life, mentally. So I'd gone from living in a place called Barrow Furnace, which is a small town in Cumbria, working at a shipyard that built nuclear submarines for the Navy, which, don't get me wrong, is a good job, but it weren't what I wanted to do. So doing this, it inspired me, because I wanted to, be in a position where I can help other people in the way that Nush and the guys would help me. And so, like, my partner, she lives a 3-hour drive away from me, so I was travelling every weekend to see her, as well as going to training and then working through the week, and then doing all my different stuff with wrestling and that. And it got to the point where I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. It was, so I've done all my coaching badges, I've done all my personal training courses and everything. Set up a business and up sticks, and it was tough leaving a lot of my family and my friends that I've grown up with, and that I've been friends with for 30+ years, just to jump in the car, move away. So now I've set up my own little personal studio gym that I'm sat in now, to do personal training out of, doing a little bit of online coaching as well. And I'm already helping people. People are talking to me, and there's already some body transformations based on the coaching and people, and the headspaces are changing. That's why I wanted to do it. So it's extremely exciting that I came down here. We had a garage full of stuff, and now I look around this room I'm sat in now, and it's a cool little studio gym, and I'm ready to hit the ground with it now. I've got all my leaflets ready to go out, and sky's the limit with it, and I'm really excited. It's no longer groundwork there. It's exciting. It's really exciting.
As we always say on this show, a rising tide lifts all boats, and the Cumbrian Outlaw, Rick Markus, is literally lifting the tides of so many people's boats. And you see the transformations of so many guys that you've been in the ring with, whether it's a Big Gun Joe, whether it's a Two-Bit, whether it's the unhinged Will Carter, whether it's your tag team partner, the Natural Born Fighter, RP Davis. But there's somebody else also that's going on to have a major transformation, who actually ended his career in KOW. And he was on the show a few weeks ago, and that's Sheriff Steele. And I gotta ask you, because obviously we had Sheriff Steele on the show a few weeks ago, on your thoughts on the Sheriff's transformation and some of the things that Sheriff had to say in the Sheriff Rules retirement match against you that ultimately ended his career.
Do you know what? You look at him now and how much weight he's lost and how well he's looking. I think he should be thanking me for giving me the kick, because I gave him the kick up the arse that he needed. So he should be thanking me, really. All joking aside, he was one of them situations where, whether we like each other or not, when we're there in KOW, there's a huge amount of respect. It was something that, that rivalry went on for 4 years. As far as I'm concerned, it's nipped in the bud now. He's got his own issues now with Grayson and what happened at the end of that, which has nothing to do with me. I'm still there. He's not. I get the feeling it's not the last we've seen of him in Barrow and KOW, and the way he's looking and how hard he's worked, I've got nothing but respect for the guy. I hope he finds a way back in. I hope he finds a way back in because selfishly, I'm not the same person I was then. He's not the same person he was then. If we can put on the number 2 match of 2019 in KOW when we're both not at our best, now getting where we are getting, I think we can really tear the house down and maybe get that number 1. And these young lads, Lucas, Neon and Tim, can sit down while those old boys knock the crap out of each other.
Well, the Cumbrian Outlaw, I will say that you're thankfully a little younger than Sheriff Steele, so you're not quite there yet. So you're not old, thankfully.
Yeah,
so, But I will say, when it came to that match, and I know I had mentioned it with Sheriff, and I know we've talked about it obviously in the past when you first came on a few months back. I felt in a lot of ways, actually, in the history of KOW, is one of the most important matches because the feud you had with him, I think in a lot of ways, very well might be the most important feud in KOW history. I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
I really appreciate that, and I think it is important in the sense that we were 2 guys that came out of their training system. So there was a group of guys, in Nightmare, ALP, Craig Collins and that. They were the guys that founded KOW. They were the first boys there. Me and Sheriff Steele came through the system and, he got the shows before I did. He started before I did. And as soon as I got on there, it was almost like it was meant to be. Our paths were always going to collide, and everything we did just kind of intertwined, and then we come back together. And he pinned me to win his championship. He beat me in our first Sheriff Rules match. And then I beat him at this end one. So it's, to me, I get a feeling it will be the last time we face off, but it's always a rough night with Sheriff Steele, so I won't mind a couple of years off him before we get started again. But I think for KOW and I think for their training system, I think for ALP, it's a strong bond there at KOW. It's like a big family, and to put on these kind of matches and make the crowd feel how they feel, that's what's special. That's what makes it special to me. It's if you can make the crowd feel something. Because the thing is, we got that number 2 match in 2019. Me and Sheriff Steele aren't 2 high flying luchadors, something special. Do you know what I mean? That's not us. Do you know what I mean? We were out there, we kicked the crap out of each other, and I was unwell that day as well. Actually, I had food poisoning, so I was in a bad way. It was touch and go, so I was in a real bad way leading up to that match, and I remember just taking a pre-workout before Sheriff Steele did his entrance. I came out, threw a chair at him, and we got on with it. It
definitely had the feeling a little bit of a vintage match between The Rock and Mankind, or Austin Rock, Undertaker, Austin kind of match. It definitely had that feel to it. But you brought up ALP, and we had on ALP last week, and the Cumbrian Outlaw, Rick Markus, ALP had mentioned that tentatively there's a plan right now for KOW to come back in September. September is not too far away. I got to ask you, the Cumbrian Outlaw, because you have been such an important part to the history of KOW. I mean, what's your thoughts on ALP's comments that we very well might see a KOW comeback right around the corner?
Well, I tell you, it gets me excited. It really does get me excited because, like I said, my last match on a KOW show was actually we did an academy show at the very start of 2020, but in front of a big KOW crowd was that Sheriff Rules match back in 2019, and I love it there. I absolutely love it there. Touch wood, I still believe, even though with the announcement that we got a couple of days back, I still believe that September show will be happening. And like we say, I am born ready. I'm ready to come back. It's a whole different animal this time. It's a whole different animal. And this isn't me trying to be a big tough guy. The reality of the situation is you can put anyone on the roster in front of me and they're having a rough night. And whether that's the showcase champion Lucas Neon, whether that's the heavyweight champion Craig Collins. Me and Craig have had some good wars in the past. I'm sure we'll have more. Lucas Neon, he's looking after my championship for me, bless him. And that's no disrespect to him because he's done an incredible job. He has done an incredible job. And when Will Carter's held that trophy after I did, 2 Bits held it. you know, Lucas Neon's holding it now, you know, but he hadn't defended it. You know, it's all good saying he had it for 2 years. He hasn't defended it. You know, when I was champion, I defended it every academy show, and then I took it from an academy show championship to a main roster championship, and I defended it there. Like, in championship matches, I went undefeated in KOW for 3 years in championship matches, and I held that showcase championship and I held the heavyweight championship at the same time. I gave that trophy away because I outgrew it and I became the heavyweight champion. And now I'm about ready to just come and pick up what belongs to me, because naively at the time, I didn't realise how much that trophy had been elevated. And these guys have been main eventing shows for my trophy, really. And I'm coming back for it. I think when I speak to ALP, I'm going to make my intentions very clear on what I want. And that's my showcase championship back.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we heard it first here on the Sports Report and on Sportnarium. The Cumbrian Outlaw, Rick Markus, very well may have his sights set back on the championship that he built and he made what it is today. And that's the Showcase Championship. And if I'm Lucas Neon, the future may not be so neon, because the Cumbrian Outlaw, Rick Markus, go after anybody, KOW. He's been a world champion. He's the man who retired Sheriff Steele. But he very well might want that championship that you hold. And the Cumbrian Outlaw, ladies and gentlemen, he made a very good point. He's reminded us that he didn't lose his title. It's a title that he never lost. So if I'm Lucas Neon, I would want to pay attention very closely to what the Cumbrian Outlaw has to say here. And we're here on the Sports Report, the #1 global sports show, talking all things related to the career of the Cumbrian Outlaw, Rick Markus. I also want to acknowledge our very good friends over at 1310 Apparel, which we know the Cumbrian Outlaw is also a big part of. I want everybody to follow 1310 Apparel on Instagram at 1310 Apparel. You can like them on Facebook at 1310 Apparel. You can follow them on Twitter at 1310 APP. And the Sports Report and Sportnarium have worked together to get a 30% promotional code for anybody who shops at 1310 Apparel. Buy anything there, 30% code. I can't figure out where you go and get a 30% discount other than us with 1310 Apparel. So that's Sport30, caps lock Sport30. Want to make sure everybody goes to 1310 Apparel and support them. They're huge wrestling fans. Josh has been a big friend and supporter. We're going to bring Josh on in a couple of weeks, just like the Cumbrian Outlaw is Rick Markus. And we have a few more minutes with the Cumbrian Outlaw, Rick Markus, talking all things related to his career and the world of professional wrestling. And the Cumbrian Outlaw, Rick Markus, I also wanted to ask you on a couple of news and notes with Odyssey Pro Wrestling, and we're going to break it here on the show in a few weeks. We're going to be speaking with Kurt Johansson, who everybody knows and does a phenomenal job with his own show, but he's going to be doing some commentary for you guys on August 7th for Set Sail, and talk about Kurt and obviously him being a huge part now of the debut event for you guys with Odyssey Pro Wrestling and Set Sail.
Yeah. I've got a huge amount of respect for Kurt. You know, I went on his podcast probably about 6 months ago now. Like, in this lockdown period, it's been so crazy, you know. And we got talking then, you know, like once the podcast was finishing, and his passion and his knowledge is second to none. So it'll be an absolute honour to have him calling the matches, and Simon Hill as well, that's going to be working with Kurt. You know, he has some incredible interviews himself, you know, on his own podcast, and both of them are two of the biggest wrestling podcasters and interviewers in the country. And the fact that they're coming over now to commentate, that gets me even more excited, you know, because these guys are absolutely great at the job and they're passionate about this, you know, and I know they'll be doing all their background work to make sure that the job they do is the absolute best they can. So it's to me, it just adds another layer of legitimacy, you know, to the whole product that Odyssey Pro Wrestling is. These guys are real big names, and, you know, it'll be an honour to have them call the match.
I gotta think for you and everybody else in that dressing room, this is a big deal. Simon Hill and Kurt Johansson, they're big names. They're very established in the wrestling community. And their knowledge of professional wrestling is as good as anybody's that I know. And I gotta think for you guys going out there in the ring and knowing that you have such pros, Simon and Kurt, calling your matches. I mean, that's gotta be really firing up, not just you, but with everybody else in Odyssey.
Yeah, definitely. Everyone I've spoken to, obviously I've spoken to RP more than most of the other guys, but like everyone's really excited, and I think now there's more matches are getting announced. I think the excitement's really starting to build for Set Sail now, and when the 7th of August rolls around, touch wood, there's going to be no more delays. The excitement's really building now. I know the tickets are going well. It's a really exciting time. I'm just waiting to see which poor unfortunate soul's getting in front of me, to be honest. Waiting for that announcement myself. I'm chomping at the bit to see who I get to slap around at the first show, really. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun.
It's funny you said that, the Cumbrian Outlaw Rick Markus, because I'm like, wait, what are we waiting for? I mean, we see everybody else getting announced at this point. I mean, what about the Cumbrian Outlaw? So I'm sure, like everybody else, we're going to be paying very close attention to that. And I pray to God that you guys don't have any more pushbacks on these lockdowns, because at this point, it's going on far too long. At this point, not to get political, but I'm ready to impeach Boris Johnson if they continue to push these lockdowns any further, because, I mean, this is ridiculous. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I don't want to get too negative, because I think August 7th, we got a little bit of time, so we'll obviously keep our fingers crossed with that. And somebody else that's going to be doing some interviewing for you guys is Lucy Simons, who we had on. And Lucy's another one where she's really an emerging, up-and-coming personality in professional wrestling, where her knowledge is, I mean, she knows every move. She knows every hold. She knows every wrestler. She can tell you the ratings. I mean, she's really like a female Dave Meltzer. I mean, my goodness, the Cumbrian Outlaw Rick Markus, I only have like a tenth of her knowledge when it comes to professional wrestling, alongside myself and the rest of the listeners here on Sport Narrative. But gotta talk with us about Lucy Simons and her doing some backstage interviewing. And for you, what's that going to feel like?
Lucy's someone who absolutely deserves this spot and deserves this opportunity to be doing the backstage interview and that, through stuff like journalistic stuff, and it's incredible. It's incredible. She's wrote things about me that I don't even know about me. Do you know what I mean? It's like she's so good at her job. And then hearing her interview with yourself a few weeks ago, how well spoken and how well she comes across. She's young, and this is a big opportunity for her. And I know she's excited. I'm looking forward to being interviewed by her. I don't know what questions she's going to fire at us, but I'm sure they'll be hard-hitting ones, because in all the work she does journalistically, it's all really, really good stuff. And, if you actually look on odysseyprowrestling.co.uk, there's already a couple of articles on there, about why we should be excited for Odyssey Wrestling. And she's putting a hell of a lot of work in, and I honestly think sky's the limit for her. I think she's going to go on the big things. I really, really do. She's part of a wrestling society, they get together and, watch shows and have socials and all that, so she absolutely loves it. She loves it. Sometimes I like to switch off the wrestling for 5 minutes, but it's for her, it's everything, and she's a great person, and I'm really looking forward to working with her.
Absolutely, and like I said, the Cumbrian Outlaw Rick Markus, we like to give you the soft-hitting questions here. Lucy's going to give you the hard-hitting ones. The Cumbrian Outlaw, we like to be friends with everybody, but Lucy, I mean, we'll see what she comes up with. But I want to ask you this question, because you brought something up, and I got to talk about it, because you got her, you got Simon, you got Lucy, you got the talent on this roster, yourself, and obviously a tag team partner, RP Davis. The professionalism with Odyssey Pro Wrestling, I mean, it's as good as any companies out there. I mean, the talent that you have, that you could very well be wrestling in the ring, peers, the women's wrestlers as well, and now some of the interviewers and some of the commentators. I mean, talent you guys have here. I mean, the professionalism is as good as any company I've ever seen. I mean, how does that make you feel with the professionalism here at Odyssey?
It makes me really excited. I feel like something that's going to be really special, and there's just this rumbling and this atmosphere that's just bubbling under the surface at the moment. And I know from personal experience, wrestling in front of that Markham crowd, they're going to be ready. They are going to be absolutely ready for this. And looking at the other guys that have been announced on the roster, but they haven't been announced in a match yet. It's exciting. You know what I mean? I could end up in there with, against Ryan Hunter, Craig Collins, Sandy Beach, Big Guns Joe, there's Lance Rivera. They're all super, super talented people. And I say, I don't mind who it is, but I'm ready to tear the house down wherever it is. So whoever does get in the room, we better be ready to bring in the ring again.
Absolutely, because the Cumbrian Outlaw Rick Markus is a changed man. He is literally a machine at this point. I mean, he posted a picture on Instagram and couldn't even know the old Rick Markus. New Rick Markus is a machine, literally. But let me ask you this last question before I get your closing thoughts, and obviously plug all the great things that you're doing in and out the ring now. When it comes to Odyssey Pro Wrestling, now obviously you and the War Machine, Craig Collins, you have a history with them. But some of the other wrestlers on the roster may not have a history with them. Would you rather go into August 7th for set sail and face someone that you have a history with, or maybe face someone that you haven't seen before? I mean, talk to me about that for our worldwide audience listening here on Sportnet.
Good question. It is a good question, that, because the last time I wrestled in Morecambe, me and Craig actually tagged together, and that was the very last time we were in a four-way tag team match for the Odyssey wrestling belts, and there was a little bit of dysfunction, and I ended up booting him in the face. So there's a little bit of stuff in Morecambe that maybe we need to iron out. But the thing is, the Morecambe crowd, they love me and Craig, so do we need to fight each other? Maybe not at this point, but I'm sure it'd be an honour to get in there and fight Craig in front of that Morecambe crowd. We've done it in front of the Barrow crowd numerous times for KOW, but I'm up for some new challenges. I'm up for whoever they want to put in front of me. They say there's somebody I'd like to wrestle. I'll be totally honest, I'd like to wrestle Lance Rivera. He's a young guy, but he's certain things he does that I don't really like the way he goes about it. He's got this cocky, arrogant attitude about him, and he could be a real good performer and a great wrestler, but I think his arrogance supersedes that, and I might just have to be the one to shut him up.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think my ears just perked up a bit. Could there possibly be a match for Odyssey Pro Wrestling, August 7th, set sail in Morecambe? Cumbrian Outlaw Rick Markus versus Lance Rivera. Lance Rivera is an up-and-coming wrestler, but could he meet his match? Could he meet his maker? In the Cumbrian Outlaw, Rick Markus. Quite a contrast between the two of them. That is definitely a match that I would want to see, and I would want to pay to see. And that's why everybody needs to follow Odyssey Pro Wrestling on Twitter at OPW_UK. You can like Odyssey Pro Wrestling on Facebook at Odyssey Pro Wrestling. And you can follow Odyssey Pro Wrestling on Instagram as well at Odyssey Pro Wrestling. Find out why we're very excited to set sail with Odyssey Pro Wrestling on August 7th. And especially with the Cumbrian Outlaw Rick Markus, who's one half of the team. Born Ready with the natural born fighter, RP Davis. And we're going to get to see the team of Born Ready in Fight for Honor Wrestling later this fall. So we're very excited to see that as well. Also, a huge shout out to the natural born fighter, RP Davis. We know he's out doing bigger and better things with the Cumbrian Outlaw at the Future Shock Performance Center. So we're very excited about the future. And also, congratulations to the Cumbrian Outlaw and now becoming a personal trainer and an online coach. So he's on his way to bigger and better things. So for you, my friend, I want to give you the floor. I want to give you any closing thoughts. I also want you to plug where all of our listeners keep up to date with all the great things you do now inside the ring and outside the ring. And anything you want to say to your fans listening here on Sportnarium, the floor is definitely yours. And I can't thank you enough. And fire away.
Oh, thank you, Tom. It's always an absolute pleasure coming on the Sports Report. It's been really incredible, and the stuff that you're doing, the stuff you're interviewing, it's absolutely brilliant, mate. So, but for me personally, on social media, you can find me at Rick Markus1, or if you type in the Cumbrian Outlaw Rick Markus, you'll be able to find me there on Facebook, on Twitter, and Instagram. As far as my personal training and online coaching goes, if you look for Ricky Halfpenny Fitness on Instagram, you can find me on there. Give the page a follow. And if you are looking to, transform your physique and your mindset, or you just want to have a talk about where you are, get on there, drop me a message. No, that's it for me, Tom, really, mate. I just appreciate your time as always, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure, as always.
We know that we're going to be talking with you very soon in the near and distant future because, well, we always speak with you, I think, every other week at this point. So in terms of you coming on the show and stuff on social media, so we know that is going to happen again. And congratulations on all the success. Looking forward to seeing you in Fight for Honor Wrestling. And I got to say, I'm very curious to see what what happens with you and KOW. I have a feeling that we might have to get Mr. Neon's responses and see what he has to say about his showcase championship. And I'm sure ALP, when he comes back on next month, will have a lot to say about that as well, because we're keeping our fingers crossed for September. And I've got to say it one more time, Boris Johnson, you better not continue to push these lockdowns, because I think I might have to come down there because it's gotten out of hand at this point. But we'll keep our fingers crossed. We'll stay positive. And in the meantime, my friend, congratulations and everything. And I know we'll be speaking with you very soon.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Tom.
As we're here on the Sports Report, the number one global sports show with former KOW Showcase champion and world champion, and now Odyssey Pro Wrestling and Fight for Honor Wrestling star of the team Born Ready, the Cumbrian, the Rick who's also now a personal fitness trainer and an online coach, as I am the host of the Sports Report, the Reverend Tom Bryson, the station manager, Ordinarian. And stay tuned for more hard-hitting analysis with Wildfire Nate Reese as we talk some of our favorite memories in the world of professional wrestling, as we were just with former KOW World Champion and Showcase Champion, Cumbrian Outlaw Rick Markus, talking all things related to his career and also his new endeavor as an online trainer. As we're here on the Sports Report and on Sportnarian, stay tuned for Wildfire Nate Reese.